further public input? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just another statement out of that letter there. Since I would think that you would control this or know about it, is there a police code of conduct here in Woods Lots?
Police commission. I really don't have an answer. Again.
Okay, is there a reason why the chief can't tell me?
I don't know. Did you talk to the chief?
Oh, he hasn't replied. Yeah, I talked to him, right here.
Okay. I mean,
So now, okay, who do I go to? Since the chief won't give me an answer, and you won't give me an answer, who do I go to?
police commission.
That's useless, and you know that.
I'm only telling you what our charter, the way our charter is
Okay,
structured.
all right, okay.
I will.
Case closed.
Well, I will speak with the chief and let the chairman know that question was asked, so you can get an answer.
I don't want it from the chairman, because the chairman takes an email and he sends it all over the state of Connecticut. Because I put tracker on that email that I sent to him. And that went to numerous people. Now, I was told to send my email to him. Why is that? So he can send it to numerous people?
Well, I will send the email to him, and, because I have to work through the chairman.
Okay.
Okay, I have to
Okay.
work through the chairman, and I'll get a response back to you.
Okay.
somehow.
And he's on the police commission, so he can bring it forward.
Mm-hmm. I'll be at the meeting.
Okay.
Because see, any questions we asked at the meeting, we get, and you can see that on video.
Okay.
I wanted to add something.
Go ahead.
I wish there was some consultant that we could bring in to help us build a sense of community. I don't thrive on contention. I don't enjoy coming to these meetings and feel like I have to argue to get my point across. I just wish there was some way that we could build our sense of cohesiveness back so that we can re-experience a sense of town that I knew growing up.
Okay. The question that you posed about Dana Steele, if you recall at that December meeting, I said that I would speak to Dana Steele.
Yes.
He has done some preliminary work in regards to what your request was. I don't think he's finished with it. Also, I told you that the budget was already in place at that time, that if we had to go into the next fiscal year, that we would do that.
Right.
Okay, so that is ongoing. As far as the Ferraro briefing, there is a public hearing, and you'll be able to make your comments available at that hearing, because that's a private study that was conducted with grant money from the state of Connecticut, awarded by the Department of Transportation for transit-oriented development. And those are mostly conceptual ideas, not necessarily cut in stone, but they were different ways of rerouting traffic away from Main Street that the locals would avail themselves of. It's successful in other towns, other areas of the state and of the country, that it works well to help alleviate traffic congestion on main corridors, but it would be utilized mostly by local residents who would know those little shortcuts through backways or walkways or one-way type streets, rerouting traffic. But I would suggest that you bring your comments to that forum. I think it's somewhere in the June timeframe. I don't think there's a definitive date yet, but I know the group meets maybe 1 or 2 times before they finalize the study. It's been conducted with stakeholders throughout the town, with safety personnel, fire, police, ambulance, public works, school officials, stakeholders on the Main Street corridor, residents, and business owners. So there's been a multitude of meetings that have taken place with many different entities.
Has the historical commission been involved?
Don't know.
Has the historical commission been
I
involved?
don't know if they
No.
Consulted?
No,
Avail
I spoke
themselves.
at January. I spoke at the January presentation.
Yeah. So, I mean, different boards and commissions, you know,
Excuse
the
me.
invites went out. Most did not partake in you know, being a part of the group effort. But it was a way of bringing everybody together to understand the dynamics of the Main Street corridor. And like I say, it's just about wrapping up, and there'll be some suggestions that'll be brought forward, and we'll go from there. One other thing, tomorrow night, there's a meeting at the New England Areas.
Public input closed?
Go ahead, Mr. Russo. It did close because I was into selectmen comments, but go ahead.
Well, the only thing I heard was Peter speak, and
I did, and Mickey spoke
And
up,
I
but I didn't
spoke.
see Mr.
then I
Russo.
waited for Mickey.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Russo.
I just want to ask if I can request the Board of Selectmen to support a change in the legislation for electronic bullying and electronic harassment. I didn't come here early enough. You may have already responded to this, but there's a big problem here in town with electronic bullying and cyber harassment, and it's not only here in Windsor Locks, but I assume it's more or less a countrywide and maybe worldwide issue. And I think something needs to be done to it. Right now, the only recourse we have is a civil lawsuit. I think we need to make it so that when people go on the internet and they start disparaging other people's reputation, that we should have some significant criminal penalties in place.
Have you gone down to the state legislature and tested?
I have contacted Senator Kissel. It's a little too late this year to resurrect Bill 456, which was introduced last year. The Civil Liberties Union
Did make it out of committee?
never made it out of committee. The problem is it was too broad, and the ACLU said there was a freedom of speech issue there.
So you're asking this board
To
further
support,
legislation that is basically limiting people's freedom of speech?
not freedom of speech, their freedom to slander and berate and belittle and harass.
Do you have
Big
any-
difference.
Do you have any ideas as to what you're suggesting?
Yes, I do, yeah. Under 53A 183, I believe it'd be a simple modification to say that if you become aware through a third party, and this would include electronic transmission, that improper material is being circulated, and it can be validated, that you can go down to the police department and request that an arrest warrant be issued. 53A 183 is harassment second degree, which deals with computer communications, telephone, and I think if we just expanded that just a tiny bit, I think it covers
I
the
would
base.
suggest that, and I'm sure the other selectmen can weigh in, but I would suggest that you send some type of documentation to the Board of Selectmen of what you're suggesting. I mean, it seems very broad, but
Okay, I will follow up and do that. And
we
I'd
can
also,
consider it at that time.
I'd also like to know whether or not you're aware of this website called Eye on Peter.
I don't participate on.
Yeah, I understand you don't have a Facebook account, but I would assume that somebody has relayed to you
People
type
relay a
of
lot things
activity.
to me. I've heard different things, but I'm not out
Okay.
there. Am I
So,
aware? Yeah, I'm aware. of
I have
some
one
things.
other statement.
Matter of fact, I think Peter said he sent me an email, and I deleted it, by the way, because I didn't know you wanted a response. I don't partake in that stuff.
Okay,
There was a
well,
lot of
Okay,
innuendo
it has
in
to
that.
go to the media.
No, there was a lot of
It has to
innuendo.
go to the media. I was giving you every break in the world,
so
Go to the
Steve,
media, Peter. I can't
It will.
stop you.
believe me.
You know, I can't stop you.
No, I
can-
gave you every break in the world.
Fine. It was deleted,
Yeah, I know,
so.
deleted.
well, you do know the fact that we're unable to get answers, direct answers and responses and the type of leadership we need from the Board of Selectmen and the Police Commission, that as Peter said, you're not leaving us much alternative but to expose Windsor Locks to a lot of bad publicity. I personally have already filed a complaint with the United States Department of Justice regarding some issues. I may leave this evening with Peter, and I may file another complaint with the Department of Justice against, because there is a code of conduct at the police department. There's something called conduct unbecoming an officer, which is a charge. And I personally believe that when you have a group of police officers acting together as a group in a public manner and displaying veiled threats, there's a problem there. And I think Windsor Locks is going to lose big time on this exposure.
Any other comments?
Bill, I just want to tell you, because I don't remember exactly when you came in, but we did discuss forming an ethics committee to study the formation of our code of ethics or ethic commission, so that we can at least reduce some of the behavior that has been recently displayed at several past meetings, and to protect everyone's rights and dignity.
Well, having been a police officer, you know, it says you're a police officer 24/7.
But we hadn't thought about the electronic bullying, so perhaps we can consider that as part of what we need to address. It sounds like it's a totally separate issue from ethics, but it may not be. There may be some overlap there, so we can certainly investigate that while we're
It's probably
at it.
part of ethics in that when you have somebody who's held to a higher standard and subjects, I know the rules very well, and they subject the town of Windsor Locks and the Windsor Locks Police Department to public ridicule. Somebody's in violation of the rules and regulations there. We have rules and regulations, we have general orders, and I again am going to say, Windsor Locks is going to lose big.
I would say that what's been discussed, at least in my understanding of what's been discussed, it would fit under ethics.
It would not, or
It
would?
would
It would,
fit
yeah.
under
I think it would
ethics.
be part of what we want to start.
And I appreciate that effort, but I think it may be, at this particular point, a day late and a dime short. I'm really tired of not getting answers. You can go up on YouTube, you can watch the videos that I posted on YouTube regarding certain boards and commissions, and you never get a direct answer. At the last police commission meeting, a gentleman was asking about why we don't have a lot of enforcement on front plates on vehicles. The chairman and I guess the rest of the commission and the chief responded to that. I had asked a question about electronic harassment and cyberbullying, and there was no response. Go to the internet, and there's a big thing that says, why no response? This has to stop.
I agree.
Okay. Like I said, there is a meeting tomorrow night at the New England Air Museum in regards to the noise exposure map that was put together by the FAA through Bradley and Parkland's study. There's about 350 homes that will be affected by this new ruling. They will not be covered with the sound or covered by the contour maps with the sound insulation program. And I sent a letter off to Kevin Dillon, the Executive Airport Authority, objecting to the changes in the contour map and asking for the data that led to this conclusion. That is the number of takeoffs and landings that are different than what the previous study identified, also with the technology of the so-called quieter engines that has led to this change in the maps themselves. So I did copy the federal delegation and the state delegation for their input. They've been invited to the meeting at my urging. When I met with Mr. Dillon last week, he gave me a preliminary briefing as to how it affects Windsor Locks, with approximately 720 homes that were originally affected, and now 349 will not get that sound insulation. That's a drastic change from the first was reported.
Does that affect people that have already been contacted, or?
If you've been contacted and you're in the process of the insulation program for this year, it will continue until the dollars run out. But any future will not be covered. according to the study that's gonna be presented tomorrow night to the public, it was conducted in November 2012. There have been changes up at the airport since then that should be taken into account. Different type of planes that are flying in and out of the air guard facility as one. And that, if they were identified in the very beginning, through the last 15 years of study, that they should continue to be.
What
part
time
of
is that meeting?
7 o'clock at the New England Embassy. I will not be able to attend. I will be at the Board of Finance meeting tomorrow night for any changes in budgets to at least
There's more public input.
public input's over.
I don't think you asked. Did you ask again?
I
just had a question for Dennis.
It's not computational.
No, come on, you've got public input, go on.
Dennis, you were putting a sign for the waterworks area? Okay. I mentioned it to the police department and commission, and I mentioned it to Mr. Wawruck and about signs going up for hunting. There's never been any signs up, and there was somebody out there with a gun. They were saw coming in from south, what is it?
O'Connor Road.
O'Connor Road. Just as, a public,
You did bring it up at a selectmen's meeting.
yeah, And I
did-
also
did
I
it-
And I did call
okay,
Cindy Gaudino
uh-huh,
from Connecticut Water Company,
yeah,
alerted her to the concerns.
mhm,
They were to put signs up. They said they would put them up. Again, the Connecticut Water Company was notified.
okay,
It's just like when we send we tell them that there's an issue with fallen trees,
mhm,
they'll send their arborist.
mhm,
We're
Okay.
kind of at their mercy,
okay,
but I would suggest that when you see someone with a gun going into the property, call the police. Tell them that you saw it. Well, you laugh, but
Yes, I have to laugh.
Well,
And stop,
again,
stop.
When
one
it takes
minute you're
47
asking,
minutes for a cruiser to get to Juniper Drive, I have to laugh.
one minute you're asking, that things be done, and then on the other, you laugh at when the suggestions.
Because I know what happens. You
know,
don't.
You know better than us. then.
Yes, I know better than you.
Thank you.
Connecticut Water Company be contacted again
Sure.
about the no hunting signs?
Sure.
It's just a safety part. I'm just.
That's all right, let somebody get shot. Shut up.
I agree with you. We'll
Let
reach
somebody
out-
get killed.
we'll
This
reach out-
town will be owned by them.
We'll reach out to them again. I look for a motion for adjournment.
I just can't say.
Second.
All in favor?